Hey guys, it's Sammy here. I just wanted to encourage you this morning on the importance of sharing your testimony about what Jesus has done in your life with others. There's this passage in the Bible in Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 1 where the writer of Hebrews says this: Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. In this verse, the writer of Hebrews reminds us that as Christians, we are running this Christian race for Jesus, this journey in this life. And interestingly, one of the keys he gives for us to be able to run this race with perseverance is mentioned at the start of Hebrews 12:1, where he says, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Now, who are these cloud of witnesses that are spurring us on to run this race with perseverance? One of the keys you'll find is that whenever a verse starts off with the word therefore, that's a connecting word, and so it connects to the previous passage. And so what we find is the previous passage is Hebrews chapter 11, which is known as the Hall of Faith. And the Hall of Faith is the testimony of those children of God, those Old Testament saints who went before us, who in the midst of facing hardships, trials, and sufferings, stood firm in their faith in God. And it's their testimonies that are spurring us on to be able to run this Christian race with perseverance. So why is this important? Say, for instance, that Jesus has called some of us to do something that looks so foolish to everyone around us that we're tempted to not do it. Well, in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7, we have the testimony of a man named Noah, who by faith, it says, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. And so the next time Jesus challenges you to do something that seems foolish to everyone, you have the testimony of a man named Noah who was willing to look foolish to the whole world, even his own family, by building this huge ark, even though it had never flooded the earth before by rain. Or let's say, for example, that God is calling some of us to step out of our comfort zones and to do something new for him that is unknown and is just out there, stepping out of the boat, out of our comfort zones. Well, we have the testimony of a man named Abraham in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8, which says, By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. You see, we have the testimony of Abraham, who when God called him in Genesis 12 to leave his father's household and his family and go to a land, God said, that I will show you. Abraham, out of obedience and reverence for God, was willing to leave his comfort zone and start walking, even though God didn't even tell him where he was headed. This reveals to us that faith obeys God even when we don't know the end outcome. And so we have the testimony of Abraham spurring us on so that the next time God asks us to do something that is out of our comfort zone and that is unknown, we have his testimony to spur us on to be able to do this. And so the question I wanted to ask you today and leave you with is, whom can you share your testimony of what Jesus has done in your life with today so that others can be spurred on to run this race for Jesus? You see, the heroes of the Hall of Faith in Hebrews 11, these testimonies are the cloud of witnesses that is spurring us on to be able to run this race for Jesus. There's a passage in John chapter 4 referring to the Samaritan woman at the well who encountered Jesus And when Jesus told her everything about her life, she runs back into the Samaritan village and starts sharing her testimony with everyone. And this is what it says in John chapter 4, verse 39. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. And her testimony was that he told me everything I ever did. So notice the woman, by sharing her testimony of what Jesus had done for her and spoken over her, was the very thing that actually brought the town out to encounter Jesus. And so you never know that by sharing your testimony, it could be the very thing that can encourage others to come to Jesus, to run to Jesus in the midst of their situation. And so my prayer for you today is that you would have that courage and boldness to share with others and to share with other Christians your testimony of what Jesus has done for you, so that they too may be spurred on and encouraged to run this race for Jesus. God bless.